Ambassador Callum Reyes stood tall, his gaze fixed on the Galactic Empire's ambassador, Soren Voss. The tension in the air was palpable, charged with unspoken threats, and the subtle undertones of an animosity as old as the stars. Behind Callum, an intricate hologram displayed Earth's colonies, each vulnerable outpost glimmering like a fragile ember in the vast blackness. Ambassador Reyes, Voss began, his voice a smooth veneer over razor-edged intent. The Galactic Empire is concerned. These human colonies encroach dangerously close to Imperial space, disrupting our peace. The last word lingered, heavy with disdain. Reyes clenched his jaw, feeling the weight of Voss's accusation. They both knew that Earth's settlements were lawful, protected by a treaty that had held the uneasy peace for decades. But Voss's words were a prelude, a reminder that laws meant little to the Empire if they decided Earth was a threat. Peace is exactly what we seek to preserve, Reyes replied calmly, though his patience was thinning. Our colonies pose no danger to the Empire. They're small, resourceful communities, not militarized installations. Voss's lips twisted into a mocking smile. But where humans go, conflict follows. We've seen it before. His voice softened, eyes narrowing. We would hate to see Earth caught in unforeseen complications. Behind Voss's words, Callum sensed a dark promise. The Empire wasn't here to negotiate. They were here to intimidate. He took a slow breath, suppressing the anger stirring within him. Stay composed, he reminded himself. Rage would only confirm the Empire's worst assumptions about humanity. Suddenly, a faint beep alerted Callum. He pressed his ear, listening intently as a covert transmission buzzed through his earpiece. It was the United Earth Defense Council, sending confirmation of what he feared. The Empire had positioned a fleet on the edge of human territory, cloaked as peacekeepers. The fleet had already struck one of Earth's outermost colonies, leaving only wreckage and terror in its wake. Callum's fingers tightened around the edge of his desk. He wanted nothing more than to lash out, to tell Voss exactly what he thought of the Empire's hollow promises. But he knew he had to be strategic. He couldn't let emotion betray him here. The Galactic Empire has always maintained a code of conduct, has it not? He said, measuring his words carefully. Surely, deploying a fleet for peacekeeping purposes near our colonies is an oversight? Voss's eyes gleamed, his smirk widening. Our measures are merely a safeguard. We cannot allow an unsupervised sector. A galaxy-wide peace requires vigilance, Ambassador. The blatant disregard for the treaty grated on Callum's nerves, and he knew that any plea for reason was falling on deaf ears. The Empire didn't see humanity as equals, but as a nuisance to be managed, or crushed. Safeguard or not, our colonies have been under unprovoked attack. This aggression won't be tolerated. Callum's voice was cool, though his gaze burned with defiance. For a brief moment, the room was silent, the weight of his words settling in. Voss's expression darkened, his veneer of civility cracking. Then perhaps you misunderstand, Ambassador. Humanity is not in a position to tolerate or object. You are expendable. He leaned in, voice low, almost a whisper. And should you resist, the galaxy will witness the swift extinguishing of your kind. The threat was clear, a knife poised above the throat of everything Callum held dear. He took a step forward, his eyes hardening, every line of his body radiating an unyielding resolve. Perhaps you misunderstand us, Ambassador Voss. We may be new to the galactic stage, but we are not defenseless. There was a pause, a breath caught between them as Callum's voice dropped to a near growl. Earth will defend its people. And if you push us, you'll find that humans don't break. We endure. Voss's eyes narrowed, a flash of something close to surprise flickering across his face. But then the smirk returned, as if amused by Callum's defiance. Without another word, he turned and left, his cloak sweeping behind him, a trail of arrogance in his wake. The door closed, leaving Callum alone in the dimly lit room, his heart pounding with barely contained fury. He knew that this encounter was only the beginning. The Empire had shown its hand, made its intentions clear. Humanity was to be silenced, or worse, eradicated. As Callum left the room, his mind already strategizing, he keyed into his secure comlink. This is Reyes. Prepare for an emergency meeting with the United Earth Defense Council. We're mobilizing. He paused, allowing the gravity of his words to settle. The Empire has crossed the line. We respond now, or we watch our colonies burn. The council members responded immediately, their voices resolute, matching his determination. The gravity of the situation pressed down on him, but there was also a strange, quiet pride that surged in his chest. Humanity had come far from its early days on Earth, clawing its way to the stars against all odds. They had faced extinction before. This would be no different. As he walked through the silent hallways toward the council chamber, he could feel the weight of the moment, every step a reminder of what was at stake. In the distance, he glimpsed the Earth through a viewing port, a blue beacon of life against the cold expanse of space. He would protect it, no matter the cost. He straightened, his resolve hardening. If the Empire thought humanity would crumble under their threats, they were mistaken. Earth's spirit was forged in resilience. They would endure, and if necessary, they would fight, raging against the Empire's tyranny with every ounce of strength they possessed. The thought brought a steely calm over him. Callum Reyes had been sent as a diplomat, a bringer of peace. But he was also prepared to be a warrior. For humanity's sake, he would be both. As he approached the council doors, he steeled himself for the fight ahead. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that they were far from expendable. They were here to stay, and they would defend their future with absolute resolve. Ambassador Callum Reyes sat in the center of the United Earth Defense Council's war room, surrounded by holographic displays detailing fleet positions, star charts, and ominous red markers where Imperial ships loomed. The council members, scientists, generals, and strategists, watched him closely, waiting for him to speak. The room buzzed with a restrained urgency, every face hardened with resolve. "Thank you all for gathering on such short notice," Callum began, his voice steady but intense. "The Empire has crossed a line. Their fleet is positioned at the very edge of our territory, and we've confirmed attacks on our outermost colonies." He let that settle in, watching the grim expressions around the table. General Arden, a towering figure with a weathered face and silver-streaked hair, broke the silence. "We've expected their provocation for years, but this is outright aggression." He folded his arms, his gaze unwavering. "We need to respond with equal force." "Yes," Callum replied, his eyes meeting Arden's. "But we cannot risk all-out war. We need a tactical, deliberate response, one that defends our people but doesn't escalate the situation beyond control." He took a breath, grounding himself. The balance between defense and diplomacy was delicate. One misstep could doom humanity's future. Dr. Lin Wei, head of Earth's Scientific Advancement Division, leaned forward. "Ambassador, we've been developing enhanced defense measures, including the adaptive AI fleets and gravitational pulse disruptors. These could offer us a significant advantage, if we're prepared to use them." The room murmured at this revelation. The gravitational disruptors had been Earth's closely guarded secret, technology capable of destabilizing enemy formations without direct confrontation. Callum felt a flicker of hope. They had options beyond sheer firepower. "How quickly can we deploy these disruptors?" he asked. Wei tapped a few controls, and a schematic of Earth's defense fleet appeared. "We can integrate them within hours. They were designed for rapid response, but—" Her gaze shifted, a trace of doubt evident. "The Empire has no knowledge of these technologies. Once we reveal them, they may adjust, perhaps even counter, our advantage." Reyes nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. "It's a risk, but it may be the only way to prevent an outright invasion." General Arden's fist slammed onto the table. "With respect, Ambassador, showing restraint will only embolden them. They see us as weak. We must hit back with everything we have, make them regret ever underestimating Earth." Callum held Arden's gaze, understanding the impulse but knowing the path forward required control, not unchecked fury. "If we overcommit, we risk triggering the exact scenario they're goading us into, total war. We're not in this alone." Humanity's colonies are at stake, and the lives of billions hang in the balance. A silence fell over the room, heavy and somber, as each member grappled with the reality of their situation. For years, Earth had managed to grow quietly, building alliances and technologies in preparation for a day they all hoped would never come. Now that day was here. We strike a balance, Callum continued, his voice resolute. Deploy the defense fleet with gravitational disruptors. If they cross into our territory, we'll repel them, but without a direct offensive. Let the Empire know that Earth isn't afraid to defend itself, but won't strike the first blow. The council members nodded, a mixture of apprehension and determination in their eyes. With a plan set, the council adjourned, each person moving swiftly to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. As the room emptied, Callum felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Dr. Wei, her expression one of quiet support. "You're carrying a lot, Callum," she said gently. "I don't envy your position." He offered a tired smile. "Thank you, Lynn. It's complicated. Balancing diplomacy with the urge to defend our people." She nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Just remember, Earth's resilience comes from more than its technology. It's in our adaptability, our spirit. Don't lose sight of that." Her words lingered as he returned to his office, the weight of his decisions pressing on him. He knew that, once the Empire was made aware of Earth's new defenses, there would be no turning back. Humanity would either prove its worth or face annihilation. A chime interrupted his thoughts. He tapped his desk console, and the face of Captain Ilara Nolan appeared, her expression tense. "Ambassador Reyes, our scouts report that the Empire's fleet has begun advancing, crossing into our outer perimeter. They're holding formation but aren't responding to our hails." A cold calm settled over him, like the eye of a storm. "Dispatch the fleet and activate the disruptors. I'm en route to the command center." The trip to the command center was swift, his mind a series of calculated moves, each one balancing Earth's future on a knife's edge. He arrived to find Captain Nolan coordinating final preparations, her crew moving with precision and urgency. "Status report, Captain," he ordered, taking his place beside her. Nolan's eyes flashed with a mixture of anticipation and dread. "The Empire's fleet is maintaining a tight formation, but our gravitational pulse disruptors are primed. On your command, we can destabilize their trajectory without initiating an attack." Callum's gaze fixed on the display, the Imperial ships moving steadily closer, a predatory calm in their formation. He took a breath, steadying himself. "Activate the disruptors." A tense silence fell over the room as the command was executed. On the main display, faint ripples began to pulse outward from Earth's defense line, invisible waves of gravitational force warping the space around the Imperial fleet. Within moments, the enemy's ships began to veer, their once uniform formation breaking into a chaotic scramble. Empire's ships are attempting to recalibrate their coordinates, but the field is holding them in a constant drift, Nolan reported, her voice tight with restrained excitement. A ripple of satisfaction moved through the command center. Earth had managed to outmaneuver the Empire without firing a single shot. But Callum knew better than to bask in this small victory. This was only the beginning. "Keep the disruptors active and monitor for any shifts in their formation," he ordered. "They'll adapt eventually, and we need to be ready." As he spoke, a transmission alert lit up on the console. It was from the Empire's fleet, an encrypted line directly from their commander. Callum exchanged a look with Nolan, both knowing this was likely another attempt at intimidation. He accepted the transmission, and the face of the Imperial fleet's commander filled the screen, his expression a mask of simmering contempt. "Ambassador Reyes," the commander sneered. "We expected more courage from Earth. Instead, you resort to parlor tricks. This tactic won't stop us, it only delays the inevitable." Callum met his gaze with steely resolve. "Courage, Commander, lies in defending one's people, not in recklessly charging into conflict. You are welcome to reconsider your position. There is still room for peace if you step back." The commander's lip curled. "Peace?" His laugh was cold, empty. "Earth's delusions will end soon enough. This resistance is nothing but the desperate flailings of an inferior species. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the room silent, the Empire's intentions now as clear as ever. Callum exhaled, the weight of the conflict settling heavily on his shoulders. "Maintain our defense line," he instructed, voice steady. "If they press further, we'll be ready." As the screen darkened, Callum could feel the tension in the room rising like the calm before a storm. He knew the Empire wouldn't retreat. Earth's stand had only strengthened their resolve. He straightened, a quiet resolve filling him. Humanity's battle had just begun, and they would be ready, no matter what came next. The tension within the command center was thick, a silent understanding passing between every officer, technician, and soldier as they watched the Galactic Empire's fleet struggling against Earth's defensive line. The gravitational disruptors had bought them time, but Callum Reyes knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The Empire was unyielding, and with every passing second, they recalibrated, working to counter the gravitational fields. Callum's gaze remained fixed on the main display as he spoke to Captain Nolan. "Status on the disruptors?" Nolan didn't look away from her screen as she answered. "Holding for now, but their fleet is starting to adjust course. They're stronger than we anticipated." Her voice was calm, but her clenched jaw betrayed her concern. Callum nodded, his mind racing through the possibilities. The Empire's forces were clearly formidable, and once they adapted, Earth's defenses would be pushed to their limits. He had to prepare for the moment when their advantage ran dry. "Begin Phase 2 of our contingency plan," he ordered, his tone decisive. "Deploy the countermeasures and reposition the fleet to brace for impact." As Nolan relayed his instructions, Callum felt a subtle shift, a new tension, sharper than before. The reality of the situation was settling in. Humanity was on the edge of a precipice, and it was his responsibility to ensure they didn't fall. The command center dimmed as the lights adjusted to battle readiness, casting the room in a soft red glow. The screens glowed brighter in the subdued lighting, illuminating the tense faces of his team. Even the usual hum of equipment seemed muted, as if the machines, too, recognized the gravity of the coming battle. "Commander, Empire ships are deploying drones," reported a young officer, her voice tight with apprehension. "They're forming a perimeter around their fleet." Callum moved to her console, studying the feed. The drones, sleek and menacing, filled the space between Earth's defenses and the Empire's primary fleet, acting as a barrier, probing for weaknesses in Earth's strategy. The display showed them pulsing with energy, ready to launch their assault. "Adaptive AI mode activated?" he asked, turning to Dr. Lin Wei, who was stationed at the Strategic Operations console. "Yes, sir," she confirmed, her fingers dancing over her controls. "The AI has begun analyzing their drone patterns and developing a counterattack sequence. It's designed to anticipate their movements, but they're fast learners. We'll need more than strategy to keep them at bay." Callum nodded, appreciating her candor. Earth's AI technology was advanced, but even it had limits when pitted against the Empire's relentless adaptation. "Good," he replied. "Deploy the first wave of decoy signals. Let's confuse them, keep them guessing. We need to buy time." Dr. Wei's screen pulsed as the decoy signals launched, sending false data to mislead the Empire's drones. Almost immediately, some of the enemy drones shifted course, thrown off by the decoys. It was a temporary victory, but it gave them a slight edge. The Empire's fleet slowed as it recalculated, buying Earth precious seconds. A low hum resonated through the command center, a sound that grew into a rhythmic pulse as the energy shields activated. The shields wrapped around each Earth vessel, shimmering with protective power, ready to absorb the first waves of the enemy's assault. "They're moving in again," Captain Nolan announced, her voice clear and unyielding. "Their formation has adapted, but we're holding strong." Callum met her gaze, finding reassurance in her confidence. "We've trained for this. Every scenario, every contingency. We stand our ground." A deep, resounding thud vibrated through the command center as the first wave of Imperial drone fire struck their shields. The room held its breath, each crew member aware of what was at stake. The shields flickered but held steady, absorbing the barrage. Shields at 92%. A technician called out, his tone controlled but tense. Callum exhaled, feeling a surge of both relief and determination. Their defenses were holding, but the Empire's full fleet hadn't yet engaged. This was only the beginning. "Send a transmission to their commander," he instructed. "I want them to know that Earth is not to be trifled with." The display on his console shifted as the comm line connected, and the Empire's fleet commander appeared on screen. His expression hardened, shadows pooling beneath his narrowed eyes. "Ambassador Reyes," the commander said, his voice laced with barely concealed disdain. "Your resistance is commendable, if misguided. Surrender now, and we may grant Earth leniency. Push further, and you will face the full force of the Galactic Empire." Callum's gaze didn't waver. "We're defending our people, our future. Earth will not surrender, nor will we submit to your threats. Your aggression is unwarranted, and your arrogance will be your undoing." The commander's smirk faded, replaced by a flicker of frustration. "You're outmatched, Ambassador. Our technology, our forces, your efforts are futile." "Futile?" Callum's voice held a quiet edge. "If you truly believe that, then come forward. Face us without your drones, without hiding behind your bluster. Show us the Empire's strength, if you have any left." The commander's eyes blazed, his expression twisting with contempt. "Very well, Ambassador. You've sealed Earth's fate." The transmission cut off abruptly, the commander's face vanishing from the screen. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped the command center, the calm before the storm. Then, the Empire's fleet surged forward, its drones scattering, revealing the full might of their armada. "Prepare for impact," Callum ordered, his voice steady, rallying his team. "This is what we've trained for. Stay focused." The main display showed the Empire's warships advancing, a relentless wall of power moving inexorably toward Earth's defenses. Callum braced himself, every sense heightened, every instinct attuned to the battle unfolding before him. A surge of energy cannon fire erupted from the Empire's fleet, streaking toward Earth's defensive line. The shields flared under the assault, a violent cascade of light and force reverberating through the command center. The ground shook beneath them, and Callum gripped the edge of his console, the intensity of the attack coursing through him. "Shields at 70%, called the technician, his voice strained. "They're hitting us with everything they have." Callum's mind raced, calculating their options. They were holding, but he could feel the strain. Earth had resources, strategy, and resolve, but the Empire was a relentless machine. This was a battle of endurance, a test of wills. "Prepare to deploy secondary defenses," he ordered. "We may need to counter with more than just shields." Another blast rocked the room, the display flickering as the shields absorbed the impact. But Callum could see it, the slight dimming of energy, the first signs of strain. "Ambassador," Captain Nolan said, her voice low, a tremor of urgency beneath her calm exterior. "If this continues, our shields won't hold indefinitely. We need a decisive move." Callum nodded, his mind sharpening with a clarity born of necessity. "Initiate the final phase of our contingency plan. It's time to show them what Earth is truly capable of." As his words echoed through the command center, a collective sense of purpose settled over the team. They knew the risks, the costs, but they also knew their duty. Earth would not fall, not today, not ever. And Callum was ready to lead them, to show the Empire that humanity's spirit was as indomitable as the stars themselves. The Empire had made a mistake. They had underestimated Earth's resilience, and now they would face the full force of a united humanity. The command center was bathed in red alert lights, casting deep shadows over the tense faces of the crew. Callum Reyes stood resolute at the helm, his gaze fixed on the main display. The Empire's warships loomed ominously, a wall of cold, unyielding steel ready to obliterate anything in their path. He could feel the gravity of the moment pressing down on him, but within that weight was a hard resolve. Earth would not fall. "Secondary defenses are in place, Ambassador," Captain Nolan reported, her voice steady despite the turmoil outside. "We're at full combat readiness." "Good," Callum replied, his tone calm but firm. Hold position. Let's give them one last chance to retreat. The Empire's fleet commander reappeared on screen, his eyes gleaming with the arrogant confidence of someone who had never tasted defeat. He sneered, a predator sensing easy prey. Ambassador Reyes, your resistance is a stubborn display, but ultimately futile. Earth is outmatched. Surrender, and perhaps we'll show mercy. Callum met the commander's gaze, unflinching. Your arrogance blinds you, Commander. We are not asking for mercy. We are offering you one last chance to save your fleet. The commander's smile faded, replaced by a scowl of irritation. You dare threaten the Empire? Callum's eyes sharpened. We don't threaten. We act. With that, he nodded to Captain Nolan, who executed his signal. The command center screens flickered to life, displaying Earth's fleet as it moved into an aggressive formation. Ships bristled with advanced weaponry, engines glowing with a fierce blue light. The gravitational pulse disruptors pulsed with renewed energy, sending waves of destabilizing force through space, turning the immediate battlefield into a gauntlet of invisible obstacles. Earth's vessels surged forward, their shields absorbing the impact of the Empire's initial assault. As they neared the enemy line, the Empire's ships fired a concentrated barrage, beams of energy slicing through the darkness. Shields at 65%, a technician called out, his voice urgent. They're hitting us with concentrated firepower. Hold formation, Callum commanded. Activate particle dispersion. Prepare for retaliatory strike. Dr. Way's fingers danced over the controls, activating Earth's particle dispersal defense. A haze of charged particles expanded around Earth's fleet, scattering the concentrated blasts into harmless light trails. The Empire's next barrage struck the particle field, losing potency as the projectiles dispersed, leaving Earth's shields intact. The Empire's commander watched in stunned silence, his mouth opening and closing, struggling to comprehend what he was witnessing. Callum seized the moment. This is your last chance, he repeated, his voice icy with finality. Withdraw your fleet, or face the full strength of Earth. The commander's face twisted with fury, his composure cracking. You've forced our hand, Ambassador. Prepare for annihilation. Without another word, the commander's image disappeared from the screen, replaced by the sight of the Empire's warships advancing in a unified front, weapons primed. Captain Nolan, initiate final phase, Callum ordered, his tone as unyielding as iron. Nolan's hands moved swiftly, her voice ringing through the command center as she relayed orders. Earth's fleet split into two formations, flanking the Imperial vessels from both sides. At the heart of Earth's line was their flagship, a vessel equipped with humanity's most advanced weapon, a fusion lance cannon capable of piercing through even the Empire's thickest hulls. Fusion cannon charging, Nolan reported, her voice steady. Ready on your command. Callum studied the display, calculating the distance, timing, and angle. Earth's fleet held steady, the Empire closing in, oblivious to the trap laid before them. He could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken anticipation of every soul on board. Now, he ordered, his voice a low command that carried the weight of Earth's defiance. A blinding lance of energy erupted from the flagship's fusion cannon, a concentrated beam of pure, unstoppable force. It tore through space, cutting a deadly path toward the lead Imperial vessel. The Empire's warship shuddered as the beam pierced its shields, slicing through its hull with ease, leaving a gaping wound in the flagship's core. The command center erupted in cheers, a wave of adrenaline flooding through the crew as they watched the Empire's prized vessel crumble. But Callum remained focused, his gaze fixed on the remaining enemy ships. Target the secondary vessels, he commanded. Press the advantage. Don't give them time to regroup. Earth's fleet surged forward, each ship unleashing a torrent of firepower. Plasma missiles streaked across the void, particle beams seared through hulls, and disruptors scrambled the Empire's remaining drones. The Empire's fleet, once an impenetrable wall, now faltered, its vessels struggling to hold formation. The Empire's commander reappeared on screen, his face drained of its previous confidence, replaced by shock and desperation. Ambassador Reyes, cease fire! You ignored every chance we gave you, Callum replied, his tone merciless. Now you face the consequences of your own aggression. The commander's image flickered, replaced by a scene of chaos within his warship's bridge. Sparks erupted from consoles, crew members shouting in panic as fires raged around them. The screen cut out abruptly, leaving the command center silent, the only sound the hum of Earth's machinery. Enemy fleet retreating, Captain Nolan reported, her voice filled with disbelief. They're scattering, pulling back from the battle line. A ripple of astonishment swept through the room as Earth's defenders watched the Empire's remaining vessels break formation, abandoning the fight. Callum felt a surge of relief mixed with pride. Humanity had faced the Empire's wrath and emerged victorious. Stand down, he ordered, his voice calm yet resonant with satisfaction. We've made our point. The lights in the command center shifted from red alert to a soft, steady blue, the tension easing as the battle concluded. Callum looked around, meeting the eyes of each crew member, seeing the relief, the pride, and the exhaustion written across their faces. Today, we showed the galaxy what it means to defy oppression, he said, his voice carrying a quiet power. Earth is no one's to conquer. And we will defend our future, no matter the cost. A wave of applause echoed through the room, each person feeling the significance of the victory they had achieved. Humanity had faced down one of the most formidable forces in the galaxy and forced it into retreat. They had not only defended Earth, they had proven their strength, their resilience, and their right to stand as equals. As the crew began to disperse, Callum turned to the view screen, watching as the Empire's broken fleet dwindled in the distance, a reminder of the power humanity had unlocked within itself. Beside him, Dr. Wei gave a quiet nod. You led us through this, Callum. You inspired us to stand our ground. Callum glanced at her, his face softening. We all stood our ground. Together. Humanity's strength isn't just in our technology or our weapons. It's in our resolve, our refusal to be broken. The last remnants of the Empire's fleet vanished from sight, leaving a quiet stillness. Callum took one last look at the stars, a sense of calm settling over him. The Empire would remember this day, and so would the galaxy. Earth had risen to the challenge, and in doing so, had secured its place among the stars. Captain Nolan, he said, breaking the silence, bring us home. With that, Earth's fleet turned, engines flaring as they set a course back to their blue planet. Humanity's journey was just beginning, and with each step, they would forge their legacy, one that would echo through the galaxy for generations to come.